We marvel at the serenity of the forest and crave the shroud of its silence. Hello everybody and welcome to Roadwarden. This was recommended to me by Licinius Lucullus373. They said it's sort of like Citizen Sleeper, but it's more focused on characters and their personal stories rather than a grand narrative. And that they didn't want to spoil any details, but it is a bit more complex gameplay than the dice management of Citizen Sleeper. They think that I would also like the fantasy setting, which is very true. Thank you, Roman General. So, without further ado, let's see what this game has to offer. Welcome to Roadwarden's anniversary patch. It improves a few stories and bits of interface, but sadly it won't work well with old saves. Well, that's perfect. I've never played this before. New game. Everyone knows to stay away from the wilderness. Most people would never risk a lonely journey. Road Wardens not only accept this struggle, they embrace it. They deliver messages, assist merchants, burn human corpses, and, if possible, get rid of the beasts and highwaymen. They live on the road, die young, or retire early. It's a dangerous job, but a respectable one, and it pays well. I still have my doubts. It's just like, alright, then go away. Go play a different game. Alright, I leave the safety of the city walls. I'm brave. Okay, pick a difficulty mode. This choice can't be altered. No time limit, more cash at the start, some quests are more forgiving. 40-day time limit, regular rule set. 30-day time limit, increased nighttime damage. Why don't we try standard? I don't mind a little bit of a challenge. I'm probably gonna screw up either way. These management games take me a little while to get used to. The wall is still standing. There are no wolves around, no stench of blood. Good signs. This should be the place you're looking for. You were supposed to meet with a group of soldiers, but you hear no voices, no sounds of labor. The gate is ajar, but the camp isn't safe. It may keep away the goblins and pebblers, but not beast folk, nor trolls, and the night is near. Your palfrey breathes heavily. It had a long day. We should look around cautiously. Let's peek inside. Your heavy boots hit the ground and the pain of the long ride finally catches up with you. You stretch out, bringing your back and legs comfort. All you want now is a table, a decent chair, a nice mug of beer, and some warm stew. With any luck, your axe won't be needed here. Ooh, take care of yourself. If you're hurt or exhausted, some actions won't be available to you. The weaker you are, the higher chance you'll die in combat. Oh dear. I approach the gate slowly. If it's a military camp, it doesn't look the part. Plenty of wasted space. The fire pit is cold. 2 people are sitting at the table, tired and disheartened. They're looking at different directions, paying no attention to one another. One of them is holding a cup. After a moment, you notice the quiet humming. You recognize the melody of a light-hearted drinking song from the city harbor. Well, they're humming, and we recognize the song. Let's enter. Takes them a few breaths to glance in your direction. The first person greets you with a wave of his hand. There are bags under his eyes. His beard is messy. Despite his simple shirt, he's wearing durable, decent boots. A mace with a head covered in iron hangs at his side, but he doesn't reach for it. I take a look at the second soul. Just like you, she's wearing a gambeson, but hers is a bit loose, as if she took it off a corpse. Her head is shaven, as if she's protecting herself from flesh-eating bugs. Her eyes are weary, yet kind. She smiles. Considering the squad was sent here half a year ago, these 2 surely look the part. There should be more of them, though. 8, you believe. Let's let them speak first. Let's see how this opening goes. It's nice to see an unarmed traveler in this godforsaken shithole. Makes me just a tiny bit hopeful. The bearded man's voice is strong, yet timid. You'll be staying the night with us, I guess. We're soldiers, he and I, adds the armored woman. Her voice switches from half asleep to relaxed. We'll do our best to keep the camp safe. But if you were to take the first watch, it would be a huge help. Travelers ought to help each other, wouldn't you say? You think for a moment. To fully rest, you'd need a good sleep. I mean, it would be nice. Do our best to keep the camp safe. You take the first watch, it would be a huge help. Maybe I'm being too nice to start out with, but they've been here for so long and they look exhausted too. Maybe I can take the first watch, right? My job is to help out. Leave it to me. Fantastic. She rubs her hands together. I don't remember the last time I had more than half a night of sleep. The hours before midnight should be the calmest. Just wake us up if anything happens. The man flashes you a wide smile. It's easy to wake us up. Just yell. He drinks from his mug. What about your lieutenant? You wonder how to phrase your question. Whenever you meet new people, you can influence how they perceive you by selecting one of the attitudes. Oh, okay. Friendly, be supportive and cordial. Playful, use a joke or witty comment. Distance, tied to your emotions. Intimidating, hint at a threat. Vulnerable, be sad, tired, afraid, or hopeless. How about we'll be supportive. They're tired. They want sleep. I want sleep. There's only 3 of us. We'll just be like, hey, well, where's your lieutenant then? Oh, we get to read them. I was hoping to meet with your lieutenant. Can we talk for a bit? I'm sure you're busy, so if I could just introduce me to your lieutenant. I'm looking for your lieutenant. I'd rather speak with someone who's not going to waste my time. I had a long journey. I need to have a word with your lieutenant. Let's do this one. The woman lets out a loud sigh, dusts off her gambeson, and steps towards you. She pays little attention to the sword at her side. We most definitely can, you and I. Though holding this rank is still somewhat new to me. Are you a messenger? Did you lose your mount? She observes you with curiosity. Or are you looking for help? I'm your new Roadwarden. My horse is waiting outside. Really? The soldier in the shirt leans forward. That explains how you got here in one piece, all by yourself. Better bring your beast here, adds the lieutenant. We have no hay, but I bet it dreams of dropping its saddle. A long pause. I'm Tulia, by the way. She reaches out her hand. So I was talking to the lieutenant the whole time. It's a good thing I wasn't an asshole. I'll shake your hand. How do you want people to call you? Yeti. Her grasp is confident, the shake is slight. Just keep your horse away from the tents. She steps away. We don't need to smell its dung. There's one issue. The soldier in the shirt also rises to his feet. We've no tent to spare. You'll have to use a blanket or something. I enjoy observing the stars. This is true too, but I'll be chill for now. You guys seem alright. You walk through the gate. Your mount looks around and snorts anxiously. Not many humans could ride a horse. It's not only taller than you, but also bulky. As heavy as it is strong. You get in the saddle within a single breath, but most people wouldn't know where to even begin. From every side it's a wall of flesh. Horses were brought to the Dragonwoods from the conquests in the south. They can trot for a long time, but won't outrun some of the local monsters. Your palfrey needs you to survive, but without it, you too would be lost. And that's why we're gonna treat it like a companion. It's our buddy. It's a horse. It is a creature, and they're very smart, if a little bit dumb at times, but it's still a creature. And it is our only buddy. We want it to feel at ease. It takes a few steps towards you, scolding you with another snort. You scratch the bottom of its neck with strength and confidence, just the way it likes it. Humans see useful animals and even pets as monsters in disguise. Getting emotionally attached to them is believed to lead humans to their doom. But you know that horses need companionship. I speak to it gently and lead it to camp. You end up next to the fire pit. Removing the saddle makes the horse nicker with relief. You take a couple minutes to examine its back, just in case. While the riding equipment is not that heavy for such a strong animal, with enough time it starts to chafe. You wish it had something better to eat than this shabby grass. You should look for an inn. Right now we need to unpack though, we just need to survive. You haven't brought that many things, and you lost one of the sacks while fleeing the Crimson Corpse Eaters. What? The what? Excuse me, the what? Worst of all, you have no rope left, but maybe the soldiers could share one. Shouldn't cost more than a dragon bone. Aside from the travel set, you own a few valuable possessions essential for your trade. Fighter? Spent my savings on a decent number of combat equipment. I have a fine gambeson, an axe made of steel, and a reliable crossbow with quarrels. Mage, I have talismans that help me use my power, as well as an iron axe and a worn gambeson. Scholar, I carry writing equipments and alchemical ingredients, as well as an iron axe, a worn gambeson, and a small healing potion. Tell me more, I want to learn! As a fighter, you'll have an easier time in physical challenges thanks to your superior equipment and hidden bonuses during dice rolls. You'll be physically more capable than the other classes, what opens unique opportunities during some social interaction. It's the best class for RPG beginners. The fighter's weakness is their reliance on physical strength. Your special abilities won't be available to you if your vitality drops to 0. The mage uses Pneuma, a versatile but limited pool of energy points that can be spent to cast a few humble spells. Magic won't protect you better than a sharp axe, but as a mage, you'll be able to heal faster while resting, detect magic in a mysterious area, distract a beast with a simple trick, and find a common tongue with other magic users. Using the mage's power too freely will result in having no Pneuma left when you need it the most. The scholar will know more about the world's mysteries than you, helping you take advantage of unusual situations. Your character will impress the locals with its knowledge, and you'll be able to read the sparse written clues without anyone's assistance. Scholars struggle with combat more than the other classes, but with enough carefulness and exploration, you'll gain access to alchemical mixtures that will help you escape from many dangerous situations. Ooh. Oh, I like both of these. Magic is always cool, but scholars sound so interesting. It seems like I'd be able to learn a lot more lore about the world. Let's go with the scholar. Maybe I'll regret this later, but I want to try it out. You unpack and inspect your belongings. Your water skin isn't pierced. The spare clothes are still there. Just in case. Oh, I have inventory. Take a look at your wooden bowl and mug, your cape, tinderbox, bandages, food rations, knife. Nothing special or too cumbersome. From time to time, your routine helps you avoid mistakes, but this doesn't make it any more exciting. Open inventory to see your possessions. Taking hits will damage your armor. You can then fix it in various settlements. Let me look at my inventory. Unless you're occupied with another task, you can eat food, drink potions, and use your items from this menu. Be sure to click each new item you receive, as some of them have unusual applications. Food rations, they consist of dried meat, crackers, nuts, seed, fruits, and waters, which spoil slowly and don't require additional cooking. Small healing potion, a set of earthenware bottles that contain small amounts of magical concoctions. We've got a pouch with coins. The city artisans make coins by cutting dragon bones into slices. Oh dang, so it's not, I thought it was like, I didn't say it out loud, but when they mentioned dragon bones, I was like, wow, that's just like a commodity? It's the money. I like that. You know, usually in fantasy settings like this, you just have like gold. This is really creative. They're valued by merchants, though rarely used in the countryside. A gambeson, a padded defensive jacket made with linen filled with rags. It's the cheapest type of armor, yet surprisingly effective, and as a result, very common. Alchemical ingredients. To brew new potions, you need to find suitable tools and some undisturbed time. Brewing is difficult, and your alchemical skills, while humble, are valuable. Travel set contains all sorts of useful tools. Writing instruments, parchment scrolls kept in tubes, ink, quill, and wax tablets with a bone stylus. Most northerners are illiterate, but they're happy to meet someone who can write a letter in their name. It's probably a good reason for travelers, too, especially scholar travelers. You need somebody to help you send messages. A simple battle axe. Traveling with an axe shows that you've learned how to fight humans and human-sized monsters. It's not masterfully made, but it's already been put to the test and you've practiced with it for many days. So can I click on— Ooh! Oh god, I'm gonna do a lot of— oh baby, so much reading, I love it! The fresh snacks spoil fast outside of a cellar, while long-lasting foods are either expensive, like honey or dried meat, or require cooking before consumption, like beans or grains. Most travelers spend their nights in taverns, huts, and villages where they can trade for cheap, warm meals, or even eat leftovers for free. As a result, food rations are eaten only when necessary. Nourishment 2 out of 4, you experience no penalties nor bonuses. Okay, so I'm not gonna touch those. I can't even if I wanted to. You recognize a magical potion when you see one. It has a tall wax seal, inside of which there's a thin stick enabling swift opening. According to what you've heard, it's a healing potion, but you estimate that it's not enough to heal an entire shell. Healing potions may be the most desired liquid in the Dragonwoods, especially among travelers, hunters, and fighters. When it comes to trade, there's barely any connection between Hovlevin's marketplaces and the inns of the countryside. While city officials keep track of the value of different goods and oversee the legitimacy of used coins, the villages prefer to barter or exchange their resources for work or other favors. A single coin is worth quite a lot among merchants and allows you to stay and eat in a shoddy city tavern for about 5 days. For 10 coins, you'd buy a decent bow, for 20 a sword, and for 100, a squad of mercenaries will be willing to face a family of trolls. Jeez, there is a lot of inflation with these dragon coins. Gambeson. Padded jackets are essential for any piece of armor set. They protect the wearer's chest, abdomen, arms, and thighs. The lighter jackets, called akatins, are worn under heavier sets made by alloys or chitin, while the thicker ones, known as gambesons, are worn alone. They're relatively easy to make, and while not all travelers can afford them or wear them for hours without getting tired, they're commonly used by guides, mercenaries, and soldiers. Your armor is not in the best shape and could use some additional work. Okay, good to know. We'll have to keep an eye on that. My ingredients. A bundle of black woundwort, a caviar mushroom, a snakebait flower, a jar of cursed soil. You know how you make cursed soil? You just pick up a pile of soil in your hand and you go, fuck you! It's cursed now. A piece of flower-looking driftwood, a collection of fresh rare herbs, bog friend, a mushroom found in the wetlands, a basalt rock powdered on the top of a mountain, a bunch of marsh bules. Alchemy is meant to fill liquids with pneuma, replacing the required power in the mastery of spells with special ingredients, rituals, and instruments. Your collection includes rare liquids, plants, rocks, and animal remains. It's not enough to brew a powerful mixture, but without them, even the most expensive workroom would be of little use. Finding new ingredients takes a bit of courage, but it's also part of your daily routine. Whenever you find something interesting growing near a road, you gather it for later use, just in case. Because of that, you also know the basics of herbalism, a less spectacular art, which allows you to achieve predictable results without depending on unreliable pneuma. Good to know. We've got a travel set, all sorts of odds and ends that you've taken on this journey, just in case. A rainproof cloak, a set of bone needles and thread, an iron knife, a blade sharpener, a tinderbox, and a couple of tallow candles. A bunch of rags used to make torches, as well as a flask of oil, a pair of protective gloves made of thick leather, and I'm guessing it goes on and on. We also have writing instruments. Most of the people in Dragonwoods don't need to know how to read or write. The lessons are time-consuming and often expensive. The exchange of written texts is practiced among people who need to create complex, exact documents and keep them in good condition for years or even centuries. This group includes priests, lawyers, inventors, officials, richer merchants, and high-ranking military chieftains. Less than 10% of the society is illiterate. What happened there? And the major part of this group lives in the cities. So I am odd? Question mark? I was a scholar, and then I became a traveler. You know, I'll be very important if anyone needs to write a letter. Simple battle axe, axes made of metal or alloys are among the most common weapons used by travelers. Not as safe as spears, not as fancy as swords, but their powerful strikes can get through animal shells, scales, or thick furs, as well as most armors. They are not great when it comes to parrying, but a single strike may be enough to leave a devastating wound. Still, the vast majority of them are used by lumberjacks, farmers, or carpenters, and pretty much every household in the countryside owns at least one, just in case. Their shapes, sizes, and used materials vary. Heads are made of stone, especially flint, bones, chitin, and massive seashells, while handles are almost always made of wood, antlers, and leather straps. I love reading. I love when there's so much detail in games like these that you can just, look at everything and then look even more. I'm already loving this. Alright, so we're gonna return to the soldiers now. They're at the table again, observing your beast and chatting between themselves. We need to name our horse. We need to figure out a name for the horse. Your stomach growls at the sight of them eating out of wooden bowls. One more bowl was put at a previously unused end of the table. You can sit down on a tree log. Okay, I completely ignore the meal. I thank them for the meal, but I don't want to eat with them. I join them and take a look at the meal. Let's join them. I feel like, especially, I don't know if, the class we picked changes how people act around us, but can you imagine? Only 10% of the population knows how to read. This motherfucker walks into your camp and is like, I'm not gonna eat with you guys, but, you need to tell me things. So I will eat with them. If anything, just to be polite. It's cold gruel, the meal eaten in times of hardship. This specific bowl is filled with water, hog millet, and some strange-looking cereals and blueberries. Yummy! Welcoming you with a meal, even a humble one, is beyond their duty. Soldiers live with and for their companions, constantly on the move from one part of the realm to another, making sacrifices to protect their group as they face dozens of hideous creatures. Their lives are filled with discipline, hardship, and camaraderie. Roadwardens, on the other hand, learn how to work by themselves. They seldom engage in open combat, patrolling the same roads for years. They help the settlement stay in touch, but also maintain commerce, settle down, forge friendships. When there are no laws to follow, they use their own judgment. Different responsibilities, different lifestyles. Keeping your stomach full will make you stronger. Starvation won't allow you to restore vitality while resting. You can find your supplies in the inventory. Did I get anything else? No. But I'll always check. Okay, quickly eat, not focusing on the taste, then speak with Tula. We can't be picky. Nice, look it, we got more num-nums. She's focused and chooses her words carefully. She looks away only when she gathers her thoughts. I'm afraid I can tell you less than I would like to, and less than I should. She nods at the other soldier. As you can see, there's not a lot of us left. At the beginning of summer, there were 8 of us, including our previous lieutenant. 5 are dead, 1 has run away in tears. We're also strangers in this land, adds her companion. Any piece of information may help me do my job. The man leans forward, his leg shakes nervously. He sounds like a kid asking a bard to sing one more story, tell a joke, or do a magic trick. Whatever it takes to escape from boredom. His untrimmed beard hides a much younger face than you originally thought. What did the officials tell you? I expect not much. Not a soul governs these lands. What I've discussed with the officials should stay between me and them? No, they're the only 2 people left. They deserve to know what's going on. They've been out here all alone for ages. Who knows how long it's been since they've seen someone since me. I share what I consider to be relevant. You tell the soldiers how little guidance you've received. Since this area is too far away from Havlavan to keep it under control, you are warned that it's untamed and unknown. Who knows how many villages, bandits, or monsters may be found in these unmapped hills and forests. From time to time, new people come here to look for boundless opportunities. Most of them never return. Did they turn into walking corpses or find what they're looking for? No soul could tell me, so I was looking for your guidance. The lieutenant drinks from her cup and crosses her legs, ankle on knee. Hey, that's how I'm sitting. Seeing her chair makes you doubt she'll ever find a comfortable position. Where should we start? Ooh, need to ask them about the peninsula, the Roadwarden, and the rope. Okay, so we need to ask them. I'm gonna ask them everything. Because I like learning. I picked scholar. What should I know about the peninsula? I'll tell you what I know, and you'll be the judge, says the lieutenant. How long did it take you to get here from the city? On a decent palfrey, I guess it would be 3-4 days? When you confirm, she continues. From here, you can reach the coast in about a day, as long as you don't make any stops. Do you know the situation? Why no ships can get here? You nod. The sea route allows Havlavan officials to keep in touch with the coastal villages, collect taxes, move soldiers, collect lumber, deliver tools, but maintaining order on a wild coast, such as this one, is like filling the ocean depths with coins. Because of the rocks, you can hardly stop a ship 5 miles from the shore and the boats can't get much closer. She nods. I don't know much about fishing, but there's not that many people living by the shore, and they don't crave to stay in touch with the city folk. She pauses, her companion carries on. No soul from the north ever came to the camp, but when we travel to the roadside inn, Pelt of the North, they're happy to trade, and to play dice. Why not just stay at one of the settlements? The man clears his throat. I mean, you know. We're to guard this road. This camp is our post, and, well... He turns towards Tulia. She lowers her voice. Do not take it the wrong way, Yabby, but are you a devout soul? Huh. Oh god, is this another choice? Like most city folk, I believe that people should unite their strength to overcome the threats of nature and dark magic. Everyone will be judged for both good and evil deeds. I'm part of the United Church. For many years, I've supported a monastery that does its best to advance mankind's spiritual growth, artistry, herbalism, and magical research. I follow the teachings of an order of truth. I'm from a small village. For me, the freedom of shell, pneuma, and soul are the main virtues of my life. My community is unique and independent, and so are its members. I have a place in my fellowship. I have a strong connection to nature and spirits and follow the path of my ancestors. Some of my beliefs may be considered sinister or treacherous by the city folk. You'd probably call me a pagan. There's no evidence of the right's existence, and all the mystical tales are explained by magic. No, I'm not. Oh dear. I wish we could learn more about these churches. Is there a way I could? 0 hours and 0 minutes before dusk. Oh! I can look at things! Oh god, we're gonna read some more. Havlavan, one of the greatest harbors in the Dragonwoods and heart of the northwestern province of the 10 cities. I was hired by its officials and merchants. We've got the bestiaries. Oh my god, there's so much. I think the only one that was mentioned so far was the Crimson Corpse Eaters, so let's check these. Hairless, scaleless creatures resemble constantly stooped apes, but their limbs and torsos are extremely thin, as if there are barely any muscles on them. While they're nimble, their limited strength turned them into scavengers. They rarely move in packs. Right's followers preach that corpse eaters should be purged from the Dragonwoods no matter the cost. A famous tale from the tablets describes the ancient home of these beasts, the Shadow Vale. They hunted and devoured any human they could find and woke up their undead shells right away, even without a fog. Countless expeditions, even from the days before the 10 cities, were meant to wipe them out of the woods. There's still more to learn about them. I like that. We can learn more. Ah, here we go. Religions. Okay, Ader. Over 1,500 years, Ader was one of the many chieftains aiming to unite the nearby tribes, though he was one who managed to establish an alliance with the clans of the growing mountains. Ader's army gained access to steel equipment, which allowed him to dominate more villages than any leader before him. After a few spectacular conquests that helped him grow and feed his army, another dozen chiefs agreed to assist his campaign and provide him with recruits and supplies in exchange for their survival and partial independence. Ader became the ruler of the first major province, and the influence of his tribe's religion kept growing as the first laws were based upon the values presented in the tablets. During the next 5 centuries, the emperors and empresses conquered new grounds, dividing the lands north of the growing mountains into 10 provinces, all of which were following the teachings of the United Church, the religion led by the imperial court. United Church, the river of order. The tablets tell stories about the extraordinary leaders who inspire and lead their tribes to greatness and safety. They're warriors, blacksmiths, and builders who raise new villages and temples and gain access to rare resources. The United Church, or the Unites, is the largest, the richest, and most unified organization in the North, and is tightly connected to the politics of the cities. It has strict hierarchies of power, traditionally with an emperor or empress at the top. For hundreds of years, it was the church's duty to record the government's activities and create rules and laws enforced by the city's officials. Strong laws, hierarchies, and strong leaders are considered to be valuable in and of themselves. The powerful cities are meant to juxtapose the wild, dangerous force that can never be trusted, only conquered. It claims to reflect the image of Ader, the greatest leader of the North. The grand temples of the United Church can be found in every city and are the cultural centers of the entire province, using their wealth and spectacular art to maintain their rank. Various ceremonies, songs, prayers, and holidays help to unify and spread communities with shared traditions, values, and hatred. It teaches that believers should follow their priests without question and extinguishes all sort of heretic or foreign beliefs. It persecutes pagans, necromancers, and blood sorcerers, and the so-called disruptors of peace, forcing them to live outside the city walls. Temples develop their own military squads, sending them to villages or road chapels, protecting the locals and travelers from the undead and beasts, or cremating their corpses. Since the southern invasion has reduced the church's power, many communities see the lack of these fighters as a worthy trade for restoring their independence. Unites have a long history of corruption, manipulation, coercion, and nepotism. The priests and priestesses designed many laws to maintain their influence and develop connections for the sake of their families, offspring, and friends. In most cities, the priesthood doesn't even pretend to be impartial. Yikes. Well, I can see why only 10% of the population can read. Maybe I don't want to be part of that religion. What about the Orders of Truth? People pursuing knowledge of both spiritual and physical worlds. They rarely focus on children, instead describing experienced, mature people looking for wisdom, contemplating their faith, exploring philosophical ideas, or inventing new technology. Sages, wizards, herbalists, and inventors. The Orders of Truth, known as the Seekers, have no interest in pursuing political power or gathering wealth. Instead of creating hierarchies of priests and priestesses, they invited anyone ready to abandon their personal possessions, or in some cases even their families, to live in small communities focused on gathering knowledge, creating and copying handwritten books, developing new technologies, exploring art, studying medicine, alchemy, or magic. While these gatherings, later known as the Orders, were focused on different activities, they were ready to share their knowledge with each other and support them in times of need. At first, the United Church allowed seekers to carry on with their research. After a couple of centuries, some orders gathered large collections of priceless books and talented artisans able to sell their work for huge prices. The Unites tried to force them to adapt the traditional structures and join the priesthood, as well as share their riches and knowledge with the grand temples. The orders refused, engaging in a long political conflict. Some monasteries were forced to succumb to the law, while others moved to rural areas, trying to live in harmony with the villages willing to exchange supplies for their knowledge and artisanship. A couple of orders turned out to be influential and powerful enough to stay in the cities after all. Their large monasteries are generously rewarded for their abilities, but their knowledge is veiled in secrecy, securing the position of those who have access. The monks aren't explorers. They usually stay in their strongholds, only sometimes organizing expeditions to gather information and resources that can't be obtained otherwise, or to transport books or goods for sale. The Order don't keep military squads, but the monasteries settled in rural areas are well protected and even fortified. The Seekers portray nature as a mysterious force, a realm where the ancient heroes were illuminated by the rite or understood the secrets of life and magic. While they condemn necromancy and blood sorcery, they don't alienate themselves from the pagan tribes, considering them to be lost rather than wicked. At the same time, they express contempt towards the United Church, portraying it as spiritually hollow and too invested in political intrigue and violence. They have mixed feelings towards emperors and empresses, but remain loyal to their military authority. So this seems a little bit better than the United Church, but I don't like the restriction of knowledge that they have going on here. Why do they only get to have it? What about fellowships? The tablets tell stories of people who pursue strong morals and try to free themselves from malice, about simple humans doing their best to live an honest, pious life. Since the tribes bring their own doom through greed and ignorance, these stories focus on the importance of an average person, a priceless member of a larger community. Fellowships, or the Ermites, are present in the villages, especially those that are not too fond of the United Church or decided to cut any ties to the city. They are in no way a unified organization, as each one of them holds a different set of beliefs and tradition, focused on the value of independence and of an individual. They believe that the tablets were meant to help people live in small gatherings, focused on humble existence and piety, and adapting the laws to the needs of the greater good. The fellowships often considered the cities to be a parody of the right's will, a result of the blind lust for power, a prison for a human shell and soul. The longer the fellowships stay independent, the more they merge their beliefs with pagan practices. The Ermites seek freedom in all forms. They want to be free from sin, independent from the cities, and to create their own stories and ideas. They consider the Orders of Truth to be too cryptic and enigmatic, too obsessed with proving that their truth is the only one that matters. While the fellowships hold rights tablets in great esteem and consider them to be the greatest source of knowledge, they don't try to explain all of their nuances, focusing mostly on the most practical advice and directions. The fellowship seems to have no significance in grand politics and hold little power. Every church is unique, and even if a few of them find common ground, they never unite for long enough to finish any larger endeavor, usually collapsing and dividing themselves once they grow. Many of them are directly responsible for breaking tribes into smaller ones. At the same time, they can be essential for survival. Their priests aim to spend their entire life in a single village, teaching kids interested in reading and guiding the locals through ceremonies. But on the other hand, some communities are controlled by a corrupt, despotic religious figure. The Ermites see the wilderness as a part of life, but separate from their spirituality. They try to influence their surroundings and live in harmony with it, but are much more pragmatic in their approach than those who follow the other rivers of faith. Interesting. So not a part of the wilderness, but separate from it, but still closer to it than the other two, I'd say. What are the right tablets that they're talking about? Oh geez, were written almost 2,000 years ago by many authors. After 500 years, Ader, the first emperor, turned some of them into a collection of religious teachings. The Rite is the monotheistic god described in Rite's tablets. They tell about a superhuman deeds of colorful heroes struggling with symbolic challenges and creatures. They don't focus on a specific ethnic group and were created when the northern tribes were still far from forming shared identities. The tablet also don't explain much about the creation, purpose, or destiny of the world, focusing more on daily life and ethics. The passage of time and the complexity of these sources make them confusing, almost incomprehensible, and they often contradict each other. The churches put a lot of effort into analyzing them, yet often disagree on even the most basic topics. The teachings most priests agree on is that the Rite is the only God, who fills human shells with souls. It's willing to forgive human wrongdoings if one decides to turn away from their evil deeds and bases their lives on truth, kindness, and justice. The value of one's life is not grand. Thus, every believer ought to be ready to sacrifice their life in the name of what's right and listen to the Rite's will, just as the heroes of the tablets did. All humans will be judged by their deeds, both in this life and after death. Speaking of judgment, what did the pagans look like? Oh, rights followers see other religions as paganism. The United Church oppressed pagans' beliefs in many ways, including military raids. Some areas, especially the villages set far away from the cities, still follow the beliefs of their ancestors, even if they have to keep it a secret. Some of them are indeed limited to a single tribe, but are also popular ideas that reappear in various shapes across the entire realm. Some communities praise minor deities connected to specific trees, hills, or rivers, while others tend to focus on living in harmony with nature on practicing strict sets of rules following an archaic conservative lifestyle. Even though most pagans condemn blood sorcery, it's common for shamans, druids, and witches to practice necromancy. Some practices can get dark. Animal or human sacrifices are considered especially appalling. The number of pagan settlements, as well as those that merge paganism with the teachings of the fellowships, has been increasing ever since the Southern invasion reduced the influence of the United Church. The settlers from the South also bring their own traditions. Well, out of all of these, the Order of Truth sounds interesting, but I don't like the restriction of knowledge going on. A fellowship seems to be nice, but I want to be a pagan. I'm curious. Maybe if we pick this one, we'll be able to learn more about the other religions outside of the United Church. And also maybe I'm just wanting to be contrarian today. But it's interesting to imagine our character being a scholar who has to hide what they really think, and that they don't really believe in the United Church. Maybe that they think of something else, or they doubt the rights. So I'm gonna be a pagan. Pagan Roadwarden. The man scratches his head without the slightest subtlety. Now, I'm sure we can have a conversation. We're civilized people. The lieutenant clears her throat. I'm from the United Church, but I'm not a priest or anything, and definitely not a zealot. An awkward pause. The United Church has spilled the blood of countless pagan tribes, making it clear that who's not with them is against them. Your family shared gruesome stories about the atrocity committed by the priests against your ancestors. Well, I'm not looking for squabbles right now. You guys aren't being aggressive. The people here are disquieting. Every few words, she taps the table with her finger. Their traditions won't help them negotiate with the officials. Here. She starts to draw lines with her index finger, as if she's pointing at an invisible map. The peninsula is connected with roads, like a big circle. In the northwest, you'll find a weird village at a bog. It's not exactly pagan, I don't think. It even has a priest who claims to be an ermite. You nod. She means a fellowship. They do crazy shit, her companion chips in. They use the dead to cut down trees and dig in soil. Once I saw it, I begged to never return there. Oh, necromancy. I see. You've heard tales of such as this one when you were a child. If an isolated settlement manages to survive without a city's influence, its custom and traditions grow more and more alien. Every generation learns how to adapt to the dangerous conditions they have to deal with, and the rustic pagan traditions muddy their river of faith. The United Church often warns its members about the crazy druids, necromancers, and blood mages, the bringers of doom, the traitors to humankind. Were you able to speak with these necromancers? You can see why we're not eager to go there if we can avoid it, the lieutenant chuckles. Maybe they'll be more welcoming to a roadwarden. The roads are dangerous, with little to no shelters. People need your help. The man in the shirt turns a bit and points a finger to the northwest. If you're heading to the undead village, you'll get to an inn first, and soon. Tulia nods. Pelt of the North is a safe place. You can talk with the innkeeper, the guards, ask them about the road. And how about the east? She stares off across the camp. Hard to tell. We went there only once. There are hills, forests, rivers. We saw a tunnel sculpted in leaves and branches, but we didn't enter it. Wilderness all around. Any monsters worth mentioning? I want to keep my horse safe. Horse soon to be named. We saw all sorts of beasts. The man starts to count his fingers. Goblins, treants, cats large and small, runners, howlers, wolves, spiked boars, mothling eaters, griffins, but we managed to stay away. Some could catch up with most mounts. Tulia glances at her companion. Though a palfrey should be fine. The trees are so tall that the flying creatures keep to the coasts and mountains. There's not that many humans around, and the animals are busy fighting amongst themselves. They fight more for food than territory. The soldier cracks his knuckles. Don't provoke them and ride fast. Just count on luck. Alright, that's all I need to know. She nods. I'm afraid we can't do more for you. Any ideas on what happened to the previous Roadwarden? Tulia takes a deep breath. Aren't you a bit late for a rescue mission? We haven't heard from him in almost half a year. The soldiers speak for a bit between themselves, trying to get their story straight. They confirm that he stopped by their camp a few times, but stopped showing up at all in the early summer. Bearded soldier starts to scratch at the table with the tip of his knife without looking at you. I don't remember his voice. Always busy, drowning in things to take care of. He would sit somewhere, sharpen his sword, fix his loud mail, clean clothes, write notes on that wax tablet of his. Yep, and leave at dawn. Unlike us, Asterion never gets bored. Julia lets out a joyless chuckle. He's secretive, but some of the locals speak about him warmly. Maybe he just doesn't like us. Sounds like you're not sure if he's dead or not. If anyone knows, they won't tell us. Maybe someone is keeping him in a basement. The man carves with passion. We haven't seen him or his Saurian. Something ate them, I bet. The officials hired you, right? They don't expect him to return. Richer Roadwardens often use four-legged, meat-eating Saurians as their mount. They have to be tamed and trained since they're hatching, but unlike horses, can easily defend themselves from many monsters. At least your palfrey is fast and reliable, and won't suddenly sink its teeth into an innocent passerby. There's that, at least. I mean, horses still bite people, but... Do you know what he was looking for? Maybe he left you a message? Neither of us had any insight into his dealings, says Tulia. My predecessor left me no clues. We also took a look at Astarion's stuff. Wait! She raises open her palm. I almost forgot. She stands up and heads to a nearby tent. He has kids, in a village near Hovlavon. I was planning to take all his things there. A pouch, a second spear, a decent bow, some potions, quite a treasure. She glances at you, but I would much prefer to bring them the truth about their father. So you want me to find out what happened to him in exchange for stuff that is some good stuff. A sphere is really good. Here's the catch. She dusts off the hilt of her sword. We've hired a messenger to ask the commanders for further orders. Since she hasn't returned and you know nothing about her, she either ran away or something happened to her. She sighs with resignation. We're meant to stay here until fall. What do you think? Come see us and tell us what you've learned about the man, and we'll get back to Hovland together? You think about your real mission. You were planning to return to Hovland in the early fall anyway. What is my real mission? Do I know yet? If he's alive, I don't think he's going to be happy about me taking away all his possessions. True, but he's considered dead. I doubt he'd begrudge you anything. And who knows, you may just find his shell lying on the roadside tomorrow. He wears mail, uses a sphere mostly, maybe 5 feet tall but stout. Long red beard, short hair, pale face, rarely smiles. She glances at her companion, but after he adds nothing, she sits down and stretches out her legs. So find out what happened to him. Dead, alive, left, just let me know. Oh, so I can look at my journal to see my quests and the log. Find the Roadwarden. Before I became the Roadwarden of this peninsula, a man known as Asterion used to patrol these roads. If I manage to find out what happened to him and bring the news to Tulia from the southern camp, I'll receive his abandoned belongings. That is really good. We should probably do that. We need it. I don't want to ask them about the rope yet. We'll do that last. What happened to your squad? Let's just ruin the mood. The man shrugs. Bandits happened, and monsters. A strong band, though, his companion chips in. When we got to the peninsula in spring, we saw people living in this camp. The lieutenant decided to avoid it and look for an inn. We had to travel through the night for a bit. The bearded soldier scoffs and crosses his arms, but she carries on. If he had decided otherwise, we all would have died that day. The innkeeper explained that the camp is a trap, that the armed ones pretend to be soldiers. Stay there at night, lose everything you have. Yikes. Oh god, what if I had gone in and that's what I came into instead of Tulia and this guy? Sounds like slave hunters. Tulia sighed. Very much so. They killed some and took others away, who knows where. They were letting the northerners go, hoping to avoid their wrath. It kinda worked, adds the soldier. We asked them for help, but they refused. We had to clear the entire camp on our own, and that's why 3 of our people died. Don't exaggerate. It's not like the lieutenant didn't make a mistake. He wanted to get rid of them and take over their camp, but we didn't know our enemy well enough. We were outnumbered, and they had an ice mage among them. She looks at you. At least we cleared the road. Saved lives. You mentioned monsters as well? Nothing that would surprise you. Those of us who survived the skirmish were young. Too inexperienced to spend a summer in this place without a good leader. And they didn't trust me. One of them got caught by a treant. Another one ignored my orders to perform some sort of ritual hunt, so a werebear tore her to pieces. The last one tried to act tough, Didn't tell us that he had cut his hand while cleaning his gambeson. She lets out a ghastly chuckle. We had to cut it off, and he was so ashamed that he decided to walk north, find a new life, disappear. Idiot. So he just left? What a colorful journey. The man tries to drink from his mug, but it's empty. You've made this place safer? Barely. Tulia seems tired, and who knows if it was worth the lives and effort. That's true, especially in this world. This world sounds so dangerous already, and like, with the lifespans that we seem to be having here, will you even live long enough to know if you made a difference? Speaking of death, I think I know the answer to this one, but how did you become a lieutenant, Tulia? That's not much of a story, honestly. She looks at her hand, which is currently rolling a mug over the table. In the city, there's a strict order of... what should I call it? She exchanges looks with her companion, but he can't help her. Well, leadership succession, I guess. Hovlevan chiefs select commanders, those select lieutenants, and those put their soldiers in order of priority. If a lieutenant dies, they get replaced by the next soldier in line. So you were his successor? Nah, not exactly. When we fought the bandits, our lieutenant was hit by a slingshot. His boyfriend jumped to help him, but failed to protect either of them from a spell. It was like a ball of ice that hung above them and exploded, piercing their heads, completely avoiding their shield. Entirely unpleasant. She pauses. And you were the third one in line? I'm not gonna be mean about a guy trying to save his boyfriend. Basically, yeah, she added without enthusiasm. I didn't plan to become leader, though. I'll get demoted once I return to the city. I prefer to follow anyway. What was your mission, if I can ask you? The lieutenant looks into your eyes. You know, the usual. Making the road safe. Keeping people alive. It may be important for me to know what you've tried to accomplish if I'm going to be traveling these roads. It's my job too now. I can't really tell you. Let's just say it would be nice to have a reliable outpost somewhere nearby. A place where you can always find a group of fighters willing to protect you in the name of the law. She tilts her head back. Now if you have any other questions, well, I certainly do. Anything I should know about this camp? The story is brief. Some merchants built the camp and have an extra stop for mules and donkeys just between the inn and the southern villages. There's plenty of grass here and a pond nearby. When the peninsula grew more dangerous, the camp stood abandoned, from time to time serving as a shelter for travelers. The bandits came here in spring, further paralyzing the exchange of information between the northern and southern settlements. Since the highwaymen are no more, the situation may reverse. Time will tell. You can sleep wherever you want, the man concludes their tale, though don't expect to wake up without pain in your back. If you were me, where would you go next? It sounds like I have two options right now. The soldier answers quickly. To the inn, of course. He grabs his empty mug. To the one northwest from here. If you can't afford the room, the main hall is free of charge. The locals rarely gather there. The northern road is much more traveled, mentions Tulia. But the hunters will tell you about this and that, and you'll have a chance to introduce yourself. The innkeeper can listen, and knows many souls. How to make a good first impression? I'm gonna be here a while. She smirks. Avoid cheap jokes. Stick to the trade. Don't waste his time. Show him that you can be relied on. Alright, so don't be sassy. Anyway, now I need to ask about ropes. Can you spare one? You're in luck. She heads towards one of the crates and moves aside a large linen sack, revealing a rope. She brings it back and nonchalantly sits down on her chair. Take it. I was planning to leave it behind. Take a closer look. A fine rope, made of hemp fibers. I take it and offer some food in return. Or I could buy it? Tulia nods. For now, you leave the rope on the table. Oh, I should have given them some food. It's getting late. We should prepare for the night. I agree. Tulia sighs with relief. And may you do better than Asterion did. Stay vigilant. She winks at you, shattering the mask of a soldier. Thank you for your help. Oh, nice. We have an archive, too. I love when we have archives, and lore, and journals, and encyclopedias, and bestiaries. But yes, thank you for your help. You go to the barrel and splash water on your face, which makes you even more aware of how much you need a bath. After the night, you'll only get worse. Your horse is already napping, still too anxious to lay down. Oh, it's okay, buddy. We'll figure out a name for you eventually. Right now, I'm thinking lore. It fits with my character being a scholar, and maybe I'm just thinking of the Dark Crystal. But we'll think on it. Let me know if you guys have any ideas for our horse name. Alright, stay tidy to have a better chance to influence others. Oh no, I gotta be clean? Fine, I'll prepare for my watch. The soldier in the shirt is eager to guide you. Just observe the area. There's plenty of griffins around, though they won't try to jump over the palisade. Probably. Better watch out for the apes. They climb up and carry out any food they can find. And there's this one really loud whirlick that keeps smelling the wall, though it's never tried to get in. He points at the gate. The lieutenant and I will block the entrances. They're quite heavy, so if anyone comes here looking for shelter, better call us to help you out. And if this someone is being chased by wolves or anything, better throw them the rope instead. He scratches his head. If it gets cold, feel free to make a fire. And the best place is on the watchtower. You may want a blanket in there or something. The watchtower? He gives you a long, puzzled look. Oh, here. He points at a pile of crates. Just climb up to the tallest one. You'll have a great view at the northern side. The more dangerous side. And also, I know you're tired after all that riding. He points to the tent on the other side of the camp. I can handle a couple hours sleeping on the ground. If you wish, go there after me and rest. Just this once. At least I have a pallet inside. Thanks. I'll take it. I'm gonna need it. I'll take as much rest as I can get. You put your blanket on the tallest crate and sit down. The night is warm, but the sporadic summer breeze brings a gentle refreshment. From time to time, your back aches and you have to force yourself to keep your eyes open. The light of the moon helps you focus on the tall grasses. For most of the time, you spot smaller critters and birds, but there are exceptions. At one point, you see a three-horned deer trying to challenge one another. Before they clash their antlers, a two-legged dragonling appears, leading off its much smaller offspring. The furry beasts try to intimidate the predators with roars and aggressive head movements. After a few moments, both sides walk away slowly, not willing to risk the fight nor to admit their defeat. Don't let it distract me. I have a mission. I'm in charge. You hear the death screams of distant prey and the mating calls of monkeys. Runners are chasing a gray hare, a group of musk oxen lazily chewing the grass, preparing themselves to sleep. A dusk fox is running together with a lynx, making playful screeches. Thankfully, you never have to intervene. You just sit there, watching the not-so-distant forest, trying to outlast your sleepiness. You can only guess how much time has passed. Once you feel you've had enough, you climb down, go to a tent, waking up the bearded man with a couple of words. You confirm that nothing important has happened. Oh, and now it's time for me. I'm gonna get a little pillow, get my blanket on the pallet. I'm gonna go night-night. Sleeping in the tent is not the stuff of dreams, but it's a much welcomed rest. The pallet keeps the cold soil away. The moonlight saves the outside world from the eerie gloom. You listen to your own breath and find a comfortable position. Your job starts tomorrow. I focus on the real goal of my journey. What is it? What are we doing? The Merchant Guild wants to take control of this realm. Your wardening duties are secondary. First and foremost, you need to explore the peninsula. Learn about the territory, resources, and threats. Get to know the locals, and if you can, convince them to consider negotiations with Hovlev and the officials and trackers. What was that? Convince them to consider negotiation with Hovlev and officials and traders. Could the tribes resist the soldiers or be a threat to the priests of the United Church? Are there any forbidden practices that need to be eradicated, such as blood magic, necromancy, robbery, or slavery? It's very interesting that I picked paganism, isn't it? Why am I working with these people? At least I have time. 40 days to be exact. I need to be as thorough as I can. Once you finish your reconnaissance, you should speak to Tula and return to Hovleven. There, you'll report back to your employers and get your reward. In the meantime, you have your own goal to pursue. Ooh, we have our own goal. So this is what we want to do. Gather extra coins so I can save my sibling from debt collectors. Gather some extra coins so I can retire early and live in prosperity and safety. If I gather enough connections among local leaders, I'll use them to become a major player in the Merchant Guild. I want to be remembered as the soul who brought peace and order to this realm, a hero. I just want to help people, make this region safer for the locals and newcomers alike. I need to find a new life for myself. I have a difficult past and I want it to be forgotten. This one seems like the safest bet, but I kind of like this one, a difficult past. I mean, we're a pagan working for Hovleven. We're a scholar working for Hovleven, who's a pagan. I think this could be very interesting. Especially if the game won't let us forget. So let's go with this one. Your half-asleep senses are catching the sounds of the wild forest. Your instincts keep you alert and anxious, though the pleasant, humid late summer air evens out slowly. You're thinking about your goal, but you need to gather your strength. You can't travel during the night. Press the sleep button to rest. All you can do now is rest. I go to sleep. Sleeping in a tent. You can spend the night in a borrowed tent. It's nothing special, but it will protect you from the wind and rain, and the ground won't be painfully hard nor cold. Nice, so we won't get too screwed up. We'll lose a sleep and we'll lose some hunger. Or we'll lose some tidiness and we'll lose some hunger, but that's okay. I don't need to eat now and I don't need to pay anybody, so we'll go to sleep. Hopefully we can eat something before we go. You're woken by the sunlight, well rested and ready. Without haste you gather your things. After only a couple of breaths you noticed a weird smell. Like a roast. No, burning meat. Rotten meat. Disgust crawls into your consciousness. You exit the tent. Your horse is looking around nervously. Your bags are where you'd left them. You see an open gate. What's going on? Both soldiers are standing near a humble pyre. The man in the shirt looks at it contemplatively. Tulia's the first one to address you. Yabby, she greets you with a nod. We use the horse's manure for the flames, so don't worry about cleaning it up. You see a corpse among the flames. It's impossible to tell if it belongs to a male or female, but it was an adult. The burning process won't be over for a couple more hours. A traveler or an undead? The latter, a young one. She lacked the pneuma to understand that she couldn't get inside the camp without climbing. I stabbed her with a spear from a safe distance. She shifts her weight. One more fog and she'd be a real threat. Even now it took a couple hits to knock her down. Sooner or later, every human shell wakes up, gaining more strength with each soul it devours and each moment it spends in the fogs. Burning the dead is not just a religious practice, it's a necessity. Soldiers, priests, village mayors, even Roadwardens. Making a large pyre takes a lot of time, but it saves lives. Tulia calls this undead a she. Most Unites hesitate to do so. Interesting. I gotta go. Running away from the reek, huh? I don't blame you. She walks with you for a few steps. Find us here if you need us, or if you learn what happened to Asterion. There's enough ground here for you to rest. Safe travels. These words make you stop. An old farewell, mocked in a number of songs and tales, but yet you hear no scorn in Tulia's voice. You wonder how many acts of kindness like this one you're going to experience in the days to follow. She returns to the pyre. Man, I'm so glad I was nice to these people. Can you imagine if we were a jerk? It sounds like people being nice is a rarity. I love you, Tulia. I prepare for my journey. Now I'm really nervous. You somehow miss the fact that your mount is already saddled and warmed up. You double-check the equipment, but you don't need to fix anything. The soldiers were diligent. Normally, preparing a palfrey for a long journey takes a lot of time. You put your gambeson and make sure your axe is tightly attached to your belt, then get in the saddle. The palfrey nickers, ready to leave. It's time for you to get to the crossroads, north from here. Use the travel button to see the map and move to another area. Let me look at the map. Travel forward to continue your journey. Once you're done with the north, speak with Tulia to return to Hovlevin. Oh, gotcha. So we've got this. Tulia's Camp, a military outpost surrounded by a wooden wall set in the middle of a valley. You're currently here. And you know what? I think we're going to stay here. We're going to stop here for now. I really want to continue and keep going, but I think that we've, like, dipped our toes into this, and we're starting to figure things out. We've created our character, we've got our religion, we've got our goal, we've got our background. We're a pagan scholar who, for some reason, is working for Hovlevin. We are going to see where this goes. I wonder how our goals and, like, our religion and, like, the path we chose, the class we chose, how it's all going to come into effect. I wonder if there was anything that would have been different already. This game seems very detailed and I really like it. I'm a huge sucker for any type of like bestiary or encyclopedia in games like this. I love lore in games like this and I'm already really liking it. So I think next time we'll fully begin our journey. This was just dipping our toes in, learning our character, meeting a buddy. I really like Tulia. We still don't even know the bearded man's name. I'm just gonna call him Beardy. If you have any recommendations for our horse, let me know. I'd love to name them. That way if I get attached and they die, we can be sad about it. I wouldn't put it past this game. There's already a lot of violence going on. But for now, I think that is where we will end this off. Thank you again, Licinius Lucullus 373 for the recommendation. I have a feeling I'm really gonna like this one. And so, we will have to play more soon. But until then, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing. Remember to take care of yourself, remember to stay awake and keep watch, and have a good day.